Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm going to do a totally new project, something I've never done before. I've done mini books, but I've never really done a fancy mini album, and I've been seeing all of these amazing mini albums on Instagram. So I thought I would use the Felicity Jane Jaimee Kit from this month to do a little mini album. I had a women's retreat at the end of last year, and I had a whole lot of photos from that trip, and they weren't really photos that were good enough to do 6x8 spreads with, because the lighting's kind of weird, or there's arms cut off, and they're just not standalone great photos. But I definitely wanted to document them and have that trip documented, so I thought a mini album would be perfect for that. So I found this cut file in the Silhouette Studio shop. I'll try to link the cut file down below. And so I just used one of the papers from the Jaimee Kit to cut the main element, and so I will show you when I go to assemble it how to fold this and put it together. Like I said, I've never done this before, so it's going to be trial and error. But off camera, I did go ahead and just add some hand stitching detail before I started assembling things. That way it's easier to do before I start assembling it. But this particular cut file also comes with this little mini envelope that goes in here. So I used another Jaimee paper, and then it has all of these little square pieces to back your photos and to back the shapes. And so I pulled out just a whole bunch of Felicity Jane papers. So a lot of them are from the Jaimee Kit. There's some from the Lola kit. There are Amber and Jill as well, I believe. I think this star one. Nope, maybe this one is Jill. I know that there's just a variety of papers, and you can see throughout the Felicity Jane kits, there's a lot of colors that are kind of very similar in color, very similar in tone, and so I think it's going to work to mix and match. Kind of went for the yellow, pink, and mint kind of color scheme, since a lot of our photos had blues and mints and things like that. So it also has this little accordion style piece that fits up in here, and so this is a spot where I can add a whole lot of photos and journaling if I want to, and just gives it a good place to have all of these photos documented in one cute little mini book. Hopefully that's the goal. So I will go ahead and put you on fast forward, and we will see how this comes together. Okay, so I go ahead and I speed this up quite a bit here in a minute because this project took a long time. So here to begin with, I'm going in and creating all the little fold marks. This cut file does add some little scored areas or dash marks in the paper so that you know exactly where to fold. And you're basically going to fold this accordion style, and you're going to alternate which direction the accordion goes between the top and the center here. So you're just gonna have to play with it to figure out how that works. Like I said, this is the first time I've done it, so I was kind of folding and trying to make sure as I'm folding that I'm folding it the right way, and in the end it all kind of comes together and works out fine. I'm sure if you've done these before, it will probably be a lot easier than it was for me, but I had never done one of these before. So this whole album took about 2 days for me to put together, which I have never taken multiple days to do a project. That's not like me. But I hadn't done one before, so I didn't have a routine. I didn't have, a set way to do it down, and I was working with a lot of different products, like ephemera pieces and things like that. And so it just took a little bit of time. So you could use a bone folder to go in and really crease these edges, but I didn't really feel like it needed that. It was fine just like this, and it's going to be bulky with all of the pieces inside anyways, so I didn't think that it needed to be super well folded. But here you can see how that works and how that accordion's going, one direction on the top and then the other direction in the center and then the other way on the bottom, if that makes sense. So for this entire project, I chose some stronger adhesives because there's so many interactive elements. I wanted to make sure that nothing accidentally, came apart. So the cut file does include this little spot here that creates a pocket. And before I work on that, I'm actually going to stick a pattern paper behind this floral cutout area. And like I said, I'm using strong adhesive. So I'm using some double-sided score tape. And then I also bring in some Ranger Multimedia Matte because, like I said, these are interactive spots. And so I just want to make sure that nothing falls apart. So the little envelope is so cute. And if you are, tech savvy with the Silhouette program, you can use that envelope all by itself if you want to pull out that piece and use that. And so you can kind of adjust this to work for what you want. So this cut file also includes this little like mini album within a mini album. So it's this accordion piece. Again, it had little scored areas for you to fold on, and it adheres down in this top right hand corner. And again, I'm going to attach this to the main base with some strong double-sided adhesive. And it has these little like half circle cutouts, and those little tabs are what hold this mini album closed within the album. It's so neat how that is put together. I love that. And it gives you a spot where you can add even more photos or journaling. If you don't have as many photos as I use, then you can use, journaling spots and decorative areas. I had a lot of photos, so I basically covered this little mini album area with just photos. You can't even hardly see the pattern paper when I'm done, but you can see how that just snugly fits in that top corner there. And then I fussed quite a bit trying to figure out where I want the different patterns and colors, trying to keep everything balanced out, trying to anticipate where I'm going to be using certain embellishments. So it takes a little bit of fussing. Here again, I'm going to use that double-sided score tape. Everything will be linked down in the description box down below if you want to see what I used for this layout. But that just attaches that little envelope piece. And then here I'm going to start assembling this pocket. I'm going to put this square piece of pattern paper. So the cut file has 9 squares, and so you can use those to mat your photos, or like I'm doing here behind this pocket, and just kind of pick and choose where you want those little mini squares. There's a video, I'll link it down below, that Paige Evans did showing how she put together this is her cut file, so how she put it together, and you can see kind of how she used those elements. And she also shows how she sizes things in the Silhouette program, so if you need help with that, you can check out that video. So I decided to turn all of these open areas into shaker elements because there's this sequin mix in the Jaimee Kit that is really, really cute. And again, perfect colors that match the colors that I'm using. So these spots I'm going to just turn into shaker elements. So I have some acetate here, and I'm just cutting out the same size squares in those acetate pieces. And then I took that over to my sewing machine and sewed little shaker pockets. So I sewed 3 edges, stuffed the pocket, and then sewed the top edge, and everything is enclosed and super cute. So I'm going to go back in with this double-sided adhesive, and I am applying it directly over where the stitched line is, just to further reinforce that stitching, because I didn't want it to tear. So that one pocket was pretty stuffed full, and so I didn't want the stitching to like fall out or come apart. So I'm making sure that the adhesive is right over the top of that stitching, and that's just going to help make sure everything is secure. So, and you can see I'm actually adding the adhesive to the front of these shaker pockets, and then I'll flip my mini album over and then attach these to the back side. And then you can see you have those little shaker pieces. Super, super cute. You could also, stick photos in there, or maybe you want to, leave them open, maybe do like a transparency and like a free floating something in there. There's so many different ways that you could do that. You could even take those elements out. So if you deleted those cut lines in Silhouette before you cut it out, then you would have more spots, just square areas to add photos or journaling if you didn't even want to have those decorative areas. So you can kind of manipulate this file to work for you. So the file also includes these 2 rectangular elements that are basically the front and back cover of this album, and so I'm going to go ahead and attach those. I did cut that out of some Lola patterned paper, and this just really helps reinforce the album and make it not so flimsy. So you can see I'm applying the adhesive, but being careful not to apply it in that little cutout open area. If you put adhesive like where those rainbow shapes are, your album won't open correctly. So you just have to be careful where you apply the adhesive. And those rectangles are sized to be slightly larger than the album, so there's a little bit of a border. So I just tried to be mindful when I chose the pattern paper what I wanted to be peeking as the border, and then the back side, the black and white stripe, will be the front and back cover of the album, if that makes sense. I don't know. It definitely takes like actually working with it to get your brain to wrap around how it works, or maybe you're just smarter than me and it makes sense to you. I don't know. So you can see the little floral poking out there, and that will be the front and back cover. So I'm going to go ahead and start figuring out where my photos are going to go. The way that this was sized up, I sized the entire file to fit in a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And so these squares are slightly larger than 2.5 by 2.5. And so my photos are printed at 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And so that just gives me a little bit of that pattern paper peeking behind them. And then they'll fit within those areas on the cut file there. So can just go around and just stick things down, and I actually like that not a lot of the pattern is showing, so it doesn't get too busy, too overwhelming. You're just seeing little peaks and hints of color and texture places without it getting overwhelming. Like I said, I used a lot of different kits and a lot of different things from my stash, and so there's a lot going on. So I'm flipping through. These are all of the die cut pieces from the Jaimee collection. I left some of my decision making in, but like I said, this took 2 days. So here are the Lindsey elements. So there's some silicone charms and some die cut pieces that I'm pulling out. And then eventually I go and pull out my acrylic drawer where I just dump all of my Felicity Jane, and I just dig through there and start pulling out some of the things from my stash. So a project like this is a great way to stash bust. I used tons and tons of product on this layout or mini album, and I just really love how it came out. So here I'm going to go in and start working on the little mini album using some die cut labels, some of the puffy stickers from the Jaimee collection. I used up tons of those in this, really sticking to like the blue, green, yellow, pink are kind of my colors for this. Using some chipboard pieces. There was this Happy Times die cut piece that perfectly fit over the top of this floral cutout area. I did use some chipboard and some dimensional elements, but I just wanted to kind of keep in mind that I needed this to close and not be too bulky. So I'm just trying to be mindful of that when I choose the different die cuts and things like that. So using another little label down here. For the silicone charms, I do use Ranger Multimedia Matte. It's a very strong adhesive, and that way I'd be sure that those charms are going to stick and not fall off. You could also use your tiny attacher and staple those on if that works for you. There are those fabric flags laying there, and there's these kind of awkward little rectangular areas on this cut file, and I just did not know what to do with them. I'm trying to add the tags. The cut file does include tags and banners or flags. I didn't cut those out because I knew that I was going to be using some of my embellishments from Felicity Jane, and they fit in those areas, but it still just kind of felt awkward. So I'm going to leave that aside for just a second and work on this accordion spot here. So you can see I have tons and tons of photos, and most of them I tried to crop in square format, but not all of them worked like that. So I still cut the photo out in a square, and then where the extra white areas are, I'm going in with some different stamps and stamping some sentiments. So this one is from I think it's the Next Stop stamp set. I couldn't find this one. I don't think it's available any longer. I bought it last summer during their moving sale, and so I don't think that you can get it anymore. But I just went through my stash and just pulled out a bunch of the different Felicity Jane stamp sets and decided to use those. I was going to use that little chipboard camera piece as an embellishment, but I was afraid to use anything two-dimensional within this little accordion piece because I didn't think that it would stay closed, and so I just stuck with some die-cut elements there. I love that kind of paint swatch patterned paper, and I ended up covering all of it with these photos. So if you didn't have as many photos, you could use those just as little journaling areas or little decorative areas, but I packed it full of photos on the front and the back, and then that just secures down in there with those little half circles, and it's a little mini album within a mini album. I think that's so genius. I have that little die cut and that camera piece. Those end up not staying there. I was trying, like I said, to fill in those awkward rectangular spots, but I end up coming up with something that works better here in a minute. I had one more photo that didn't fit anywhere else, so I'm going to stick it in this little pocket. And so I'm cutting it down so that I can add one of these die cut tabs from the Jaimee collection. So again, this was one that wasn't a square format, and so I'm just kind of cutting down the top of it so that there's an area for the tab to be attached to and, you know, be strong and reinforced without covering up too much of the photo. And then on the bottom part where there's that white area, I'll use a stamp sentiment from the Sophie stamp set. And that one, again, also is not available any longer. I had it in my stash. And here are some Kate word stickers. These aren't available any longer anymore either. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to stash bust. And so I would just dig through, find what you have in your stash that's, you know, equivalent to what I'm using here. I try to use things that aren't sold out, but sometimes it happens. So I'm trying to use up what I got. And so now I have this little like faux tag element out of that photo that I can stick in that pocket, which turned out really cute. I'm going to pull out a label from the Jaimee collection. I love these ones with the notebook paper. It's super cute. And then I'll layer some of these puffy stickers around the layout. I'm obsessed. Even just watching this through again, I love how this came out. There's just it's like each little square area is its own little like layout almost. I don't know. It was just really fun to work on and create. So I used that yellow puppy sticker as the closure for the envelope. I know that probably won't last very well, but it's cute and it works for now, and we'll call it good. And then I layered one of those heart puffy stickers over the top of that shaker element on the top just to dress it up. So I didn't have any spot for journaling, so I'm going to use this envelope for my journaling. So I used one of the Essentials grid papers from Felicity Jane and cut it down, and I'll go ahead and add just some little micro journaling here just to document, nothing too detailed, and then I can stick that in that envelope and then have my journaling there. So here's where I decided, oh my gosh, this will work perfect for a title. So I didn't have a title on here yet, and I had these chipboard alpha stickers from the Lindsey kit, and Hume Lake is perfect because each word is 4 letters, and so it perfectly fit in this kind of square format on either side of my layout. And so it's a little bit difficult to read, but it almost acts as like a decorative element, and I was so excited. I could use these stickers and fill in those kind of awkward spaces on there and just pull in some more of those colors. And look at this. I love it. I love how it's coming together here. So here you can see all the different interactive elements. I have so many photos packed into here. They are kind of small. Like I said, they're 2.5 by 2.5, but that's okay. It works, and you can kind of still see what's in there. So to keep this closed, I pulled out some pink ribbon from my stash, and I'm just going to tie this around the book and kind of create like a belly band to hold it closed. And I pulled out one of the Brie fabric tags and kind of tied that in there to dress it up. And then I'll add another one of the Jaimee puffy hearts onto there as well. You could add the date or a label to indicate what's in there. I might come back in and add a label that kind of says what the mini album's about, but I don't really have any mini albums at this point, so I know that that's what this one is. So here I've slowed it down so you can see you can slide this off and then pop it open, and there's this super fun layout. It's about 12 by 12 size. It's a little bit, smaller than 12 by 12 with all those photos. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the blog post for more close-up photos. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.